Hey guys, how are you doing today? Right now I'm on Lake Michigan in Chicago. You can see there's people walking behind me, and there's this gorgeous lake. And I'll try to see, like, if you look at, hopefully you can hear me. That would be awesome to do a video. You can't hear me, but if you look behind me, can you see like all the ripples in the water? It's just really, really beautiful out here, and I'm hoping it's not the case, but it's like kind of going to be probably one of the warmest days that we're going to have for a while. But hopefully it'll still be nice enough that I can come out just layered up and come out and be out on the water. But in any case, it's Friday, woohoo! And I want to talk to you about a couple of things from this week that I think are amazing teachings and that are just fun and magic and miracles. Hi Joan, how are you? We've never met before, but just say hello. Thanks so much for joining. And so basically today, what I want to talk about, the first thing I want to talk about is a breathwork session that I did. Hello. It's a breathwork session that I did the other day. And so for those of you guys who aren't familiar with breathwork, and I was taking it, I wasn't teaching it, but so I'm always constantly looking for practices of how to expand myself, right? Expand into more presence, expand into just being more of me, always just looking to learn and grow, and then how I can bring that to my community. And so with breathwork, mainly what you're doing is someone is facilitating you, and for an hour or more, basically you're breathing into your body. Awesome. I'm glad to hear that. And so basically with this breath work, as you're breathing into your body, right? And as we go into breath is one of the most biggest ways that we can really be present, right? Because when we are just breathing, we are present with what is versus sort of, all the chaos that can be coming in our outer world as we're just living, right? And so I was going on this breathwork journey. And, I just always ask, I work with guides and angels, for those of you guys who don't know, and they're really, really fun to work with because they're always around us. They're here to help us and to guide us. If you ask, you always have to ask for their help, but they are always around, and they're just dying to come in and really, really help you. And I will say, if you think they're weird, if you think they're out there, that's awesome too, because, hi Irene, thanks so much for joining. It's so good to have you here. With guides and angels, I'll say, even if you think they're weird or they're out there, if you knew that another being had a bigger view than you, would be able to help you, guide you to your highest and best self, would you want help from them? Just a question. No biggie. No biggie if right now, if you don't feel that, that's okay too. And so basically during this breathwork journey that I was doing, the vision that I got, which was so fun, I got a couple of visions, but this is the one that actually stands out to me right now. So the vision that they showed me was being, I was standing out by an apple tree, right? And the sense that I got, it was kind of like the apple tree from Adam and Eve, right? And so, hi Irene, good morning. So the sense that I got was it was like I was standing in front of the apple tree, like Adam and Eve, right? And I was like, okay, what is, I'm just standing there, and I'm breathing, so I'm just in the moment, right? And I'm just sensing the energies that are in this moment. And some of the things that came up for me during this breathwork journey, one of them was, in that moment, in the way that the story is always told, there's always this constant right and wrong, right? I don't remember the exact story, but the energy of it was, I believe it was Adam did something wrong, and then, he was punished. And first thing that I want to put out is, what if actually there is no right and wrong? That was really one piece that my guides were showing me as I was taking this journey, right? We tend to put things in boxes of good and bad, right and wrong, and especially with the election and no matter who you voted for, we tend to always be kind of saying that was good, that was bad. And what if everything it's not necessarily quote unquote good, but it's always in our highest good, right? So what if there really is no right and wrong? What if there really is no good and bad? So that was one thing that came up in this journey. Another thing that came up, they kept showing me apples, right? And I actually should have gone and looked up apples because I was like, ooh, apples. But one of the things, one of the energies that was coming in as I was taking this journey and seeing this tree that was standing in front of me is the abundance, right? There, like I saw, it wasn't just one apple that was there, it was an abundance of apples. And so, one of the practices that I've been doing this week that's been so super fun is seeing the abundance in everything, right? So, from when we're little kids, we get very much conditioned to really only see, kind of see the lack, right? Kind of see the scarcity. Most of us, at least. If you're lucky to grow up in a household that really shows you the abundance, that's awesome, right? But for most of us, we're constantly we're being conditioned around that struggle and around that lack. And so one thing that I've been doing this week that's been super, super fun has been around seeing, so I live in Chicago, and I'm going to flip this around for 1 second. So check this out, right? So I'm taking a walk on the skyline, right? And there is an abundance of buildings in front of me, right? I don't know if you saw too. I'll turn it around one more time. Can you see the cars that are they're on Lakeshore? It's what's called Lakeshore Drive. But all these cars on Lakeshore Drive. So there's an abundance of cars. And so one of the things I've been doing to reprogram, just that scarcity, that lack that I grew up in, right? So I've cleared my abundance blocks. My abundance blocks are clear. But now it's about really, really integrating it. And so one of the things that I'm doing personally to integrate it is to see the abundance everywhere, right? Even in one of those high-rise buildings, there's a ton of windows, there's a ton of balconies, there's a ton of people, right? And for me, part of what I'm doing to integrate that is to really see the abundance that is always all around us, but that we've been conditioned to see, see lack instead of abundance. So anyways, so in terms of manifesting though, in this breath work, right? So I'm thinking about apples, and I'm literally, as I'm laying there and I'm breathing, I'm like, I really want an apple. I'm thinking in terms of I literally want to go and stop my journey and get up and go to the store and get an apple, right? And so I'm thinking about this, and I'm like, I really just want an apple. I'm like, all right, I'm gonna get one when we finish our journey, and when the class is complete. I'm definitely gonna go. I'm gonna get an apple, or I'm gonna get a smoothie that has apples in it. And so I'm really, really feeling this. And so we come out of these journeys an hour or so later, and very cool, right? Very cool manifesting, right? So I sit up, and they have fruit there waiting for us to eat. And so I was laughing because I was like, oh my God, and of course it included apples in it. But I was laughing because I was like, oh, that of course they have fruit. Of course there's apples waiting for me, right? And I tell you this story, one in part to help you to remember the powerful manifester that each of us is, right? Each of us, literally, yeah, Joan, exactly. Lack is so embedded in us. It's really, really crazy, right? Because the truth of it is we are abundant. And yet, for whatever reason, we're so focused on the lack, right? And so, the story with the apples and then manifesting this apple, really that's the truth of who we are, right? We really are abundance, and we've forgotten it, right? So think about it this way. One way to look at it is that we are always telling ourselves lies when we buy into the fact that we're lack, or that we're scarcity, or that we don't have enough. That's actually because the truth of it, our true being, if you think of a baby, right? When a baby, is first born, it doesn't come out thinking it's bad, thinking it's wrong, thinking it's lack, thinking it's scarcity. It comes out knowing the truth of that it's abundant, right? It comes out knowing the truth that it's love, it's light, it's magic, right? So it comes out knowing the truth of its power. And then of course all of our programming, our unconscious, subconscious programming that comes in, retrains it to think something else, right? Retrains him or her to really think something else. And so part of our journey here is that retraining, right? Is us returning to our truth. And our truth is that abundance, right? Our truth is that that abundance that we are. And how can we really integrate that truth and start to really own it versus owning the lack. And so part of what I always talk about is a huge way that you do that is you clear your abundance blocks, right? So many times if you try to just go to the state of abundance without clearing those blocks, it's not to say that it can't work, but many times, there's several things to do, right? Like the exercise I just gave you is a really great exercise to start to integrate that. But another piece of it is many times if you try to do that without clearing those blocks, you have this little girl, little boy that's inside of you that says to you, I'm abundance. That's not true, right? Because there's all these other layers underneath it, from our childhood where we've been taught that we are that lack, right? So many times if you can clear that lack first, that in itself is a strong key to starting to integrate. So when you go to do these abundance exercises, like the one I just gave you, it actually can really, really integrate really, really powerfully. And so that's my abundance story. It was just super, super fun, right? But just, we need to remember that we are that abundance, right? And the second story that I want to tell you today, this is a fun story as well. It's all about love, right? And so basically, like, I'm single. I'm in Chicago. I'm single. And this is something, even if you're not single, even if you have a partner, like, this is something like that can shift. If you can show up this way for your partner, for your friends, for your family, for whoever is triggering you or is being triggered, I should say, this can change everything. And so yesterday or 2 days ago, actually I think it was 2 days ago in the evening, I got a text from somebody who I had met online like a year ago, I think, or something. It was a while ago. And so I get this text from him and kind of almost forgot about it, right? Like, I totally, he texted me and I was like, oh, I guess I should respond. But then I fell asleep. And the next morning I was pulling a card for myself, pulling a tarot card. And it reminded me, I think my guides are like, you need to respond to this person, because whether I wanted to go out with him or not, it was an opportunity for me to speak my truth. It was an opportunity for me to practice being relational. And it was just an opportunity for me to really, those are the two really big things. So the next morning, this man, he loves to travel and he works a ton, right? And I historically, because my old pattern, which is no longer there, but my old pattern was that I do attract unavailable guys, whether they're physically unavailable, they're emotionally unavailable, in some way they show up unavailable. And so, we start to proceed to kind of go back into this conversation that we had a year ago, right? And one of the first things he says, which of course I'm an energy healer, I see what's underneath what someone's saying. So, one of the first things he says is he's talking about how basically how somebody wants his attention and he doesn't have time for them, right? It's not related to love, but it's just somebody in his life. And it's me being just aware, I'm this is total red flag, right? It's one thing, it's important to be relational at all times, right? So I do not want to discourage anyone from being relational. It's another thing to kind of just see what's in front of you. Here's somebody who's asking for his time and he's like, I work so much, I travel so much, I barely have time, So I, in a relational way, just communicate to him, hey, this is what I'm looking for, right? Because I got a strong hit. One thing I was saying, and I don't think I said this in this group this week, but one thing that I was saying this week that's so important is every single thing that we are saying yes to, we are telling the universe we want more of. So I'm going to say that again. Every single thing that we are saying yes to, we are telling the universe that we want more of. Okay? And so I was like, cool. This is an opportunity for me to tell this person, no, I don't want this, right? And so I was I just communicated in a really loving way, this is what I'm needing right now, right? I'm needing somebody that no matter what's going on in their life, because as you guys know, I travel a ton, and I work a ton, and I'm just a lover of life, right? So it's totally great. Go and fall into that zest and just be yourself and love your life and do what makes you happy, right? And those things, my sense is make him happy. So I just communicated though, what I need right now is just kind of in essence somebody who has those things, but also is willing to, make me a part of that, right? And then it was so interesting, right? Because he responded from a really strong place of defense, right? He got very defensive. And so, and then started to quote unquote make me wrong and make what I was saying wrong. And so, of course, I practice what I preach, right? So my first thing was I'm going to just show up in love, right? Like, this is like what it felt like to me energetically. I could just see a picture of his little kid that's there, right? And he's like, hurting. And he's like, oh my God, like I just felt like, oh my God, this person needs to be held, right? So I was like, however I responded in a way that was really just like, I'm so sorry if you felt that way. Like, just responded from compassion and from love. Because again, for me, no matter, like, this guy isn't the guy, but like, this for me was an opportunity. How can I practice speaking my truth, right? How can I practice, like, being relational, speaking my truth, and being compassionate, right? Because we're all in this together, right? So that's in essence how I responded to him, right? I'm like, I'm going to speak my truth. I'm going to practice being compassionate. I'm going to practice being relational. And that's it, right? Like, this is my opportunity to keep telling the universe, like, this is who I'm being. And when we be that, we draw that in, right? It's like whatever you put out, you get back more of, right? And so while it wasn't in this moment that that happened, because he got, again, really defensive. This person was just giving me lots of information. This is where he is in his growth journey. This is what he's made of right now. This is the only way he knows how to show up. So his way of showing up was like, I'm going to make her wrong for her needs. I'm going to make her wrong for her truth. And I was like, I'm just going to hold space and love, And so he responded again in a defensive way, making me wrong. And then I just blocked him and deleted the conversation, because I was like, there's nothing there. There's nothing more, right? It's like, for me, the practice. So the reason why I tell you the story, like, I tell you the story obviously for the things I just talked to you about, but I also tell you the story because so many times we miss these golden opportunities just to practice, right? We miss these golden opportunities just to literally tell the universe what we want more of. So many times we're like, this is a waste of my time. I'm not going to engage in any of this. And there comes a point, like when I decided to just delete him and block his number, that was when I made that choice. But in the meantime, I was like, how can I practice being relational, right? How can I practice holding my truth, speaking my truth, being in love, and being compassionate with whoever's in front of me, right? Because that's a golden opportunity. And how can I practice speaking out what I need without having to be attached to how they show up, right? And so I tell you this story because every single opportunity that's in front of us is an opportunity for us to grow. It's an opportunity for us to expand. It's an opportunity for us to expand into more love. And it's an opportunity for us to practice. So I leave you with that today. So tell me what's been going on. I'd love to hear how this week's been going for you. Where have you gotten some golden opportunities to grow? Where have you gotten some golden opportunities to practice? I would love to know. I would love to know how what I said lands in you and how maybe that's going to shift something in your life. And I would love to just hear you say hello and know what's going on in your life. So in the meantime, I hope you have a wonderful, amazing weekend. Much love to you all. And yeah, have a great weekend.